That is a sheet of copper. I'm gonna turn this piece of copper into professional fingerboard. In the past, I've made a fingerboard out of a Red Bull can and also titanium, and also a Monster can, and paper, and wax, and also a pumpkin, and also carbon fiber. You guys get the idea. So I think copper is pretty much next on the list. So let's make a fingerboard out of copper. To make a fingerboard, you need this stuff. This is a piece of wooden veneer. If you didn't know, copper is actually made out of copper. So I want to cut little strips of copper so we can kind of use it as veneer. It sounds so simple. I made a mark of where we have to cut the copper, but now we need to figure out how to actually cut the copper. I thought about just cutting it with a knife until it gets thin enough we can kind of just flex it until it breaks, but I feel like that might take a while to cut the exact same line over and over. I think a Dremel tool might be a good option, so we might try that. Look at all this copper dust. I found the tool to cut the copper. It's basically a pair of scissors, but for metal. Like, this stuff does bend, but considering how thin it is, it's still pretty strong. It is also really heavy. This one sheet of copper weighs about the same as an actual fingerboard. Because of how heavy this is and also how strong it is, I think I'm only gonna use 2 sheets. Time to see if copper can actually press in a fingerboard mold. This is a Create Your Skate fingerboard mold, and we're gonna see if it can survive copper. I also realized my table is pretty much the exact same color as copper. It feels wrong to put something in a fingerboard mold and take it out right away. Last time I checked, I don't think copper has any sort of like glue that needs to dry in the mold. So let's take it out. That is so cool. That actually pressed like quite a bit better than I was expecting for some reason. I know I said I was gonna use 2 layers of copper, but honestly after pressing this and having just that concave to the shape of the board, that made the copper a lot stronger. This black piece is like a shaper tool thing just so you can get like the exact shape of the board. I don't know if I'm gonna make a mark and then sand this or just keep holding onto the block and do it right on the belt sander, but the next step is to sand the board. This is a fingerboard made out of copper. The edges are pretty rough, so I'm just gonna take some sandpaper and clean everything up. We got some pretty good selection for the sandpaper. To be honest, I didn't even know they made 3000 grit sandpaper, and you cannot even feel that this is sandpaper. The copper by itself is already kind of shiny, but I want to use some like metal polish stuff just to see how shiny we can get it. I'm gonna do a test on this piece of copper and see if it's possible to sand it first and then polish it. The 3000 grit sandpaper only comes with 1 sheet and it has this like kind of foam texture to it. 1500 grit. $2,000 grit sandpaper. 3000 grit. Look at how reflective it went after we used the 3000 grit sandpaper. You can even see the reflection of the camera. That's crazy. Now we're gonna do this exact same thing, but on the actual board. I'm gonna drill the countersinks just so we can kind of access this area, because right now a little piece is kind of sticking up where the holes are drilled, and it's kind of making it so we can't really sand that spot. All the sandpaper has been used. This is the magical stuff that'll actually make it really shiny. Bro, this board is so sick. Look at the reflection on this. The board is actually so shiny you can hardly tell it's even copper. I can't lie, the board does look pretty cool, but that doesn't mean it's good until we do the kickflip test. If I land a kickflip first try, this board is amazing, but if I don't, the board sucks. Either way, it looks pretty cool. First kickflip. The board is kind of bad. Kickflip number 2. I'm getting there. The board has some weight to it, but you can still do a lot of tricks. I say a lot of tricks, but like you can pretty much do any trick on this board. You just need to pop a little bit harder. A solid piece of copper makes a pretty good fingerboard. I can't get over how cool the color of this board is. It's kind of like rose gold crossed with copper somehow. This is officially my favorite fingerboard I think I've ever made. Drop a comment down below for what else I should turn into a fingerboard. Subscribe if you like this video, and I'll see you guys next time.